Hi everybody. So in this tutorial what we're going to talk about are stingers. A stinger is a short musical phrase that plays over your current music. So what we're going to do is add three quick stingers to our project, and the first thing that we're going to need are some WAV files. So I have some WAV files on my disk which are stingers. I'm going to go to the project menu of my Unity project here, and I'm going to make sure to go to the top level where it says assets and where my music is right now, and I'm going to go ahead and take these three stingers and then add them to my project. Each stinger is pretty short, about 5 to 12 seconds or so, and what we'll do is I'll quickly listen to them, testing them out just a little bit, and they're pretty short. Just a little bit of music that would play to punctuate an event that would be happening in the game. And so I have my layered track set up here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another generic 3D object that then fires each one of these stingers. So if we go up to the game object menu, I'm going to use a 3D object that I haven't used before. So I've used these cubes. I haven't used spheres yet, so I'm going to use a sphere, and I'm going to make kind of three of them. So I'm going to maybe put them in back of my player here. So I'm just going to make sure that they're not up too high. If they're up too high, then I might not be able to collide with them, and I want to make sure to collide with them, meaning that if I walk underneath them, then it's not going to trigger the stinger where I want it. So I want to create three spheres. So you can actually go here and then duplicate that. So now I have two spheres, and I can move one here, and then I can duplicate that again. Or I could use the menu command and build three if I wanted to, like that. Here's my player. I'm going to move my player up a little bit, and then I have these three sort of spheres in back. And those spheres, I'm going to want to play each one of my stingers. So in order to do that, let's just name these quickly, and I'll call this sphere stinger stinger, if I can learn to type here. Sphere stinger 1, sphere stinger 2, and then number 3. Now, I've written a script that basically will allow a stinger to play, but there are two components that we need to kind of add to make that work. The first thing that we need to do is we need to add in another audio source to our world. So what I'll do is create an audio source to that first stinger component. So that's here. I'm going to select my first stinger here. So, but I'm not going to have it play on awake, which means that I don't want it to play when I start my game. If I hit play right now, it'll just play right away, which is not what I want. What I want to do is trigger it only when we collide with that sphere. So what I'll do is I'll change it so that it doesn't play on awake. And then I also want to select an output here. Now, right now, if I look at my audio mixer, go up to Window, then choose Audio Mixer. If I look at my master audio mixer, I don't really have a slot for where my stingers are supposed to go. So let's create one. Right now I have 3 submixers. I can create another submixer, or I can put it as a group here. Let's add it as a group since we haven't seen that yet. Let's go ahead and hit plus here, and I'll add in this new group and call it stingers. So we have individual control over our stingers. And by the way, you can move it if it ended up being not where you wanted it, like a submix of dialogue or something like that. We want it at that master level, so I kind of moved it around till I got it to the right place. So here it is, stingers feeds master, and then I can adjust my stingers level if I wanted to. So if I go back to my first stinger and then I can select the output of that to my stingers. Similarly, I can do the same thing for each one, but let's get this one up and running. We're going to need to add a component to this too. And here's where, if you start typing in stinger, I've got a little script called music play stinger. And that will allow us to play this audio source. There's one other thing to do. We need to just make it a trigger. So we make it a trigger here. We have the audio source. We have the script. Now, when I play my game, if I kind of turn around here, go over here, and then play this, okay, it didn't work, which is good because I had to figure out what was going on. And I actually wrote some stuff in the console here of why it was not running. And it said the collision was not from the player, it was not tagged. And so let's say I have some sort of animal in my game, like giant lobsters, and the lobsters are going through the world, and the lobsters kind of trigger this. I only want this to trigger if a player goes through it. And so I set the script up so that we have to tag who the player is. So if you go up to the FPS controller, there's one more step that we need to make. Go up to the FPS controller, go up to the very top, and then tag it as the player. So here we change it to player. So now when I hit play and then go through that, it should work. And it even says I have a fancy debug message that's saying, oh, playing the stinger when that happens. Oh, and I can still turn on my other layers like this and like this. And then play my stinger on top. It made it a little bit into Henry David Thoreau meets zombies in his Walden world. But let's do that for the next ones too. So just make sure that your FPS controller, first person controller, is set to tagged as player. And once we've tagged it as player, then it will work fine. So we'll go to our second object here. We'll do the same thing. We'll make it a trigger. We'll add in the play stinger, and then we'll add in the audio source. I did that kind of in a different order, but it will work just the same. On the audio source, we have to make sure to select our second stinger, and then also change the output to our stinger channel, and then make sure that's not starting on awake. And now I'll do the second one so that we can hear it. So I'll turn around at sort of that middle one there. I double triggered it there, and our first one should still work. Okay, and the third one, last one here, last sphere, and what I'll do is I'll make it a trigger. I'll add in that component. I can do it in either order. I'll do the audio source first this time. Make sure that we're going to set up to play the third stinger, and then changing our output to the proper group, like that. And then make sure that doesn't play on awake, which means play when we start the game. And then we can hit play and get the other third stinger to work. And it doesn't work because I added the audio source, but I then didn't add the script that said, all right, play this. So I start typing in Stinger, music play Stinger, that's the little script that I've written. And now it will play. And it all works together. If you wanted a little additional information, you can go to look what that script looks like. This script's a little bit more complicated. What it's doing is it's looking to make sure that there's an audio source on the object first at the start of the game. Then it's waiting for a trigger to enter it, and it's basically saying if it's the player, then if it's not the player, then put up a debug message saying that, whoa, it wasn't the player, it was like a giant lobster. And then it says, all right, well, make sure there's an audio source. If there's no audio source, I can't play it either, so let's put up an error message. If there is no clip attached to it, meaning there's no sound clip attached to it, also put up an error message. Otherwise, if you got all those things, then stop it if it's already playing and then play it, so it doesn't double play it. But we could have it kind of theoretically double play. And that's it. So, oh, yeah, if it is playing, then stop it and start it over. Otherwise, play it is kind of how this script is put together. Anyways, good luck. Let me know if you have any questions, and looking forward to hearing how it goes.